Then, in the near term, we also have a coastal low that's attached to this front to the north. That is our saving grace. So talk about putting up the Heisman. As long as that's there, that actually kind of blocks anything like a giant hurricane from moving into the Carolinas. If we had the Bermuda High a little bit further west and that system was not there, we'd be talking about a major hurricane potentially making landfall here in the Carolinas. Now, I'm not saying we're not going to have impacts, but we're not going to have direct hits from this. So this is what our futurecast is showing by 9 p.m. on Tuesday. That is a big, bad hurricane. And the most recent update that I've seen is actually been from the hurricane reconnaissance. So let's switch over to hurricane forecasting. Where is it? Okay. So actively right now, hurricane hunters are within this storm. So the most recent update has 130 mile per hour winds, which is just on the cusp of a category 4. But this is the real-time data that has been filtered in. So right now, the hurricane hunters are in the northeastern quadrant of this massive hurricane. And the peak wind speed that they've reported back so far is 138 miles per hour. So we haven't really changed any new updates as far as the wind speed yet. But when the 11 o'clock update comes out, I bet it'll be around 140 to 145. They're still investigating to see what is the strongest. So they're going to do one more pass, and then they'll return to their base. I think it's reporting from Puerto Rico, and then they'll head back up a little bit later on. I think what's the most interesting part, when I've talked to hurricane hunters in the past, they actually would prefer a category 4 or 5 compared to a tropical storm. And you might be saying, well, that's crazy. Well, the reason why is they're more predictable. Since the winds are much stronger, they know the flows, and there's a lot more wind turbulence in a tropical storm because it's still kind of figuring it out what it wants to do. So it's these type of conditions that are actually safer to fly into than, say, even a low-end tropical storm. So quick little stat there. I think one of the biggest issues that we're going to see here in the Carolinas is the wave heights. Anything in that green and yellow is representing wave heights up to 20 feet. Now, I'm not saying we're going to see that, but whenever you have a hurricane of this magnitude, what it does is it lifts like a bulge of the water up, and that's what creates essentially the storm surge. So since this system is still going to be filtering in winds out of the northeast, it's going to be around the Outer Banks that could have some localized flooding. So that's why areas like Hatteras are calling for mandatory evacuations. Areas that flood in scenarios like this need to get out. So even though the 250 mile per mile center is offshore, that's still enough distance to cause some of that flooding. So I think that's the biggest issue there. But then also the rip currents. These aren't just dangerous rip currents, they're life-threatening, because whenever a storm is even up to 1,000 miles out in the Atlantic, it can cause rip currents or allows for a better environment for them. When it's this close, within 250 to 300 miles, that means that those are some choppy seas, not ones that you really want to go into. So I can thank my lucky stars that we chose this past weekend to go to Myrtle Beach. It just could be dangerous. So just expect a lot of red flags, even double red flags at times, if there's going to be a real significance as far as those rip currents go. As far as the forecast goes, and I'll show you the map version, but I just want to show you the winds first. They're anticipating this thing to go up to about 145, maybe 150 for a max. It already peaked to 160, so it went through rapid intensification. It was the 43rd Category 5 that we've had in history, and we'll continue to see, I think, a downward trend as far as the wind speeds go as it's heading into some slightly cooler waters day by day, eventually down to a Category 1 by about Saturday. So let's go and look at the path. The most recent update has that this tropical track hasn't really changed too much, but there will be a cone adjustment for the 11 o'clock update, so that's the one that's really going to matter. As you can see, 130 miles per hour by about 2 a.m. on Tuesday, but notice this track. It goes pretty much directly right towards the Carolinas, but then it has this sharp shift off towards the east, so it's literally splitting almost the midway point between St. George and Bermuda and the eastern Carolinas. That's actually the best case scenario for a storm this strong. Now, ideally, we would want to stay a little bit further out to sea, but just seeing that this is gliding really away from any sort of land is the best idea that we can have. I don't think there's anything that's going to change this from making landfall in the Carolinas. It could nudge a little bit further west, which would just be higher coastal flooding, but again, best case scenario that we're not getting a direct landfall from this, because this would have been a historic storm. And as we know, for what the Carolinas has dealt with, we don't need any more historic storms for many more years or any years to come. We are also in the peak of hurricane season. Today officially is August 18th, even though September 10th is the exact median, the absolute peak, the pinnacle of hurricane season. It's technically August 20th to October 10th that we have most of the storms. And going forward, we're going to have a lot more of these busy maps that I want to show you the next storm that's on the list. In the next 5 to 7 days, it looks like it could potentially form into a hurricane in the exact same zone that has very warm water temperatures as Erin did. Now, Erin started a little bit further north, so it is actually going to develop in some more southerly waters, which is even warmer because it's close to the equator. So there's a good chance that this turns into another hurricane, maybe even another major hurricane, but this one has a better chance of impacting the Lesser Antilles, perchance parts around Puerto Rico, so ones that we really have to keep an eye on, and then after that, anything goes. It's this time of the year that a developing tropical system completely can turn our forecast upside down. As far as the next storm up, it's Fernan. That's not Fernand, it's Fernan is going to be the next storm, then Gabrielle, and then Humberto.